The UFC's in Baku this weekend for a fight night. I'm going to go through the entire card, give you guys the notes and style of every single fighter, as well as my best bets and prediction for every fight. If you guys want the full betting recap, go ahead and fast forward to this part of the video. Let's get into it. Kicking the card off, we got two guys making their UFC debut, Tahir Abduliev versus Jefferson Nascimento. Tahir Abduliev is a 29-year-old regional scene fighter, 21-3. He's got 9 KOs, 7 submissions, 5 decisions, so he can get it done in a bunch of different ways. He's fought for a bunch of promotions that I've just never heard of, but now he's making his UFC debut. His style, he's an undersized guy for welterweight. He's only 5'8", carries some pretty bad weight as well. He's got athletic striking ability, loves to throw unorthodox strikes with his legs. That's definitely where he's most dangerous. He's also doesn't force grappling, but when the fight hits the mat, he really excels. He's got pretty good submission game. His opponent, Jefferson Nascimento, he's an undefeated 13-0 fighter, was actually a champion too in LFA. Fought at 155 in LFA. This fight's going to be at 170. He's making his UFC debut as well. He's a quick and clean boxer, has decent grappling IQ, has been taken down plenty of times, and will be at a pretty bad weight disadvantage this one. My prediction for the fight, I think Tahir Abduliev will get this one done via decision. Not sure why this fight's at 170 or why Jefferson Nascimento would take this fight at 170. He's a true lightweight. He's built well for lightweight as well. Abduliev, yes, doesn't force the grappling. If the fight stays standing, I've got Jefferson Nascimento and the speed advantage winning there. But if this fight hits the mat, which I think it inevitably will, Abduliev's sub game is really good, and I think he's just going to weight bully Nascimento as well. He is the slight underdog at minus 105, but I'm not touching this fight at all. This is not personally one that I want to bet on, but if you guys see the value in it, go ahead. Next fight, we got Beksat Almakhan versus Gene Matsumoto. Beksat Almakhan, he was 10-1 on the regional scene. Had a bunch of modified MMA wins, though, before that, so he's more experienced than maybe his record might give off. Signed with UFC in 2024, had a really competitive fight in his debut against Umar Nurmagomedov, where he actually dropped Umar, had him in some trouble early. Since then, he's been 1-1. He lost his most recent fight to Alexandre Topuria, so both of his losses within the UFC are to pretty good competition. His style, he's a really solid striker with good hand speed and power, especially for a flyweight. He can struggle against control-heavy grappling, but has good sprawls and hip strength to avoid getting completely dominated on the ground. His opponent, Gene Matsumoto, he came into the UFC 14-0 after a win on the Dana White Contender Series. He's 3-2 in the UFC so far, though. His last 3 fights have all been split decisions, and he's been on the wrong end of 2 of those. His style, he's a really compactly built fighter. Has skill anywhere the fight goes, but excels more as a grappler. Walks down his opponents, eats jabs, and will relentlessly fire takedowns. He's kind of like flyweight's Brazilian Marab in a way, but just worse because he's a cardio freak as well. This guy doesn't really get tired. He didn't slow down at all at the end of his fight with Farid Basharat and arguably made a push to win that fight. However, my prediction for this fight, I've got Beksat Almakhan winning this one via round 2 KO. Almakhan's a plus 130 underdog, and I love this value. I just think Beksat is better everywhere the fight goes. He has the urgency in the grappling to compete with Matsumoto and not just get held down. I think he has enough to keep the fight standing, and I just can't help but think of how much Gene Matsumoto got touched up by Farid Basharat and how much worse that's going to be with Beksat Almakhan. So, I mean, I guess Gene can get it done, but I think Beksat is really the better fighter almost everywhere. And at plus 130, and Almakhan KO at plus 325 is even better value. And then if Matsumoto is going to get this one done, I think it is going to be via decision, so you can get that at plus money as well. Pretty much everything in this fight I really like the value on. So give me Beksat getting this one done via round 2 KO, and I love the underdog money in this one as well. The next fight on the card, we got Daniil Donchenko versus Theodore Burgin. Daniil Donchenko comes from The Ultimate Fighter. He actually won the entire show on Team DC. So far in the UFC is 2-0, riding an 8-fight win streak as well with 8 KOs in 15 fights. His style, he's just mean, nasty, and violent. He wants to bring the fight to his opponent the second the bell rings, generates a ton of ground and pound, generates a ton of power in his ground and pound as well. Stamina's not awful. It's definitely not his friend. Towards the end of the Alex Morono fight, you could see him kind of slowing down, but he was really just putting a beating on Alex Morono in his last fight. He's just super fun to watch. He's personally one of my favorite welterweight prospects, so I got to hype him up a little bit. His opponent, Theodore Burgin, 26-year-old 8-3 fighter from the regional scene, 2-2 in his last 4, but he's on a 2-fight KO streak. 100% of his wins come by finish, and he's also making a short notice debut. He was not scheduled originally to be on this card, but he is stepping in for Andreas Gustafsson. His style, he's a well-built athletic kickboxer with a really big weakness to grappling. Has good cardio and stamina. And watch for the back of the head shots. This guy was Cyril Gane maxing big time in his last fight. Landed some really nasty back of the head shots that just didn't get called. And he's done it before as well. I think I noticed it in both of the fights of his that I watched. My prediction for the fight, I do have Daniil Danchenko getting this one done via round 1 KO. Burgeon's not actually terrible. I just don't think he's UFC level. I think if Daniil Danchenko shoots a singular takedown, he'll probably land it, and then he can ground and pound him to a finish. Even at the fight standing, Burgeon, yes, he's athletic, but Daniil Danchenko is actually, in my eyes, a good UFC fighter, and I'm just not sure I can say the same for Theodore Burgeon. Even if this fight goes into round 3, I'm not really going to be worried about Daniil. However, I think Daniil moneyline at minus 500 makes plenty of sense. Daniil in round 1 at plus 220 is pretty good value. And the fight not to go the distance should be a pretty big given at minus 365. So I like all 3 of those things, but give me Daniil Danchenko in this one. Next up is Con Ofli versus Javier Reyes. Con Ofli went on the Ultimate Fighter after an 11-2 run on the regional scene, loses in the final round of TUF, gets finished in round 2, I believe, then loses his next fight in the UFC, but he has won his last 2 pretty questionably. I think he got his ass kicked by Yiza at UFC 325 and somehow came out with a split decision win. His style, though, he's a smothering grappler with decent submission ability. Absolutely awful striking defense. Does not move his head off the center line at all, but he actually has a pretty decent chin. When he does strike, it's pretty wild and looping, but some of them will connect every now and then. His opponent, Javier Reyes, he's been fighting professionally since 2014. He got a shot on the Contender Series back in September. He won and got a contract. He's got this really cool YMCA Giga Chad walkout. It's super fun to watch. He also teaches Zumba back in Colombia. I think this guy's just kind of a Chad in general, to be honest. Debuted with a round 1 TKO win on the Mexico City card. His style, he's a well-rounded fighter, fights with this very loose kind of style. And it's almost kind of too loose because he'll be very vulnerable on his feet, keeps his hands too low at some points. He has been caught before, but he's also got pretty decent danger himself. He's also got a pretty decent grappling base as well. Decent BJJ, has a really good rear naked choke as well. My prediction for the fight, I think Javier Reyes will win this one by round 3 KO. Reyes money line at minus 175. I think that's actually moved. Even more money has come in on Reyes, so I think he's up to like minus 220 now. Coughley KO at plus 1,000 is a decent high value straight. Javier Reyes gets caught a ton, keeps his hands down. Con Ofli likes to throw these big overhands, looping overhand. I guess maybe one could connect. And Ofli under on takedowns. My real reasoning for this is I think Reyes has enough takedown defense to keep this one standing. I don't think he's going to get wrestle fucked by Con Ofli, and that's just kind of his whole style. Like, I didn't want to say that straight up in the style of Con Ofli, but he just tries to wrestle fuck people. He's not really a dangerous guy. I definitely favor the danger of Reyes, and I think on the feet he's much quicker and much more dangerous. I guess Ofli could wrestle fuck him, but I don't think so. I got Javier Reyes getting this one done. I think he'll keep it standing, touch him up in the later rounds, and then finally find a finish. Maybe get this one done by decision, but give me Reyes via round 3 TKO here. The next fight, we got Nursultan Ruziboyev versus Andrei Polyaev. Ruziboyev, he had a huge background on the Caucasus regional scene, became a champ in multiple promotions, has an overall record of 32-8-2. Joined the UFC in 2023, getting 2 straight round 1 finishes before losing to Joaquin Buckley down at 170. Tried to go down to welterweight. Now he's back up at middleweight, and since then he's had 2 straight wins. His style, he's absolutely huge for the division, even for middleweight. He's 6'5", rangy, conventional striker, loves the jump knee, but has been pretty susceptible to counter strikes. His long legs also leave him very susceptible to takedowns. This man's grappling is not great. Despite having 20 submission wins, it's just not where he's his best. His opponent, Andrei Polyaev, comes into the Dana White Contender Series 8-2, gets a decision win and a contract. In his debut, loses to Christian Leroy Duncan. Then he wins his second fight by round 2 TKO, and then he fought Ateba at the beginning of the year at the UFC 324 card. Got well, I don't want to say he dragged Ateba. He got dragged to a decision. His style, he's an extremely durable guy. Just watch the Ateba fight. He ate some disgusting shots that would put most guys out, and we've actually seen for a fact they put most guys out. He's a kickboxer, throws slick body kicks, gets better as the fight goes on for sure, but the durability is kind of just the main superpower of Polyaev. My prediction for the fight, I think Ruziboyev will get this one done via decision. I favor the overall striking ability and just the length. All that goes to Ruziboyev to me. I doubt he'll implement grappling, but if he does, I think he has a slight edge there as well. It's definitely a fun fight between two guys that are probably going to come to throw down. Maybe a lower output fight, but should be decent. Ruziboyev at minus 225 makes plenty of sense. There's nothing that Polyaev has done to make me believe he can get this one done outside of just survive getting battered. And so he's a durable guy. I doubt he'll get finished, and I doubt Polyaev will finish Ruziboyev if he somehow figures it out. So I like the fight to go the distance at plus 120. I think that's actually wonderful value. And Polyaev over on significant strikes just because I think the fight's going to go for so long. He's already the underdog. So take his over on significant strikes, but give me Ruziboyev to get this one done via decision. Mr. Beast is fighting again. Abdulrahman Yakhyayev versus the Juicebox Julius Walker. Abdulrahman Yakhyayev, he's a 9-0 fighter that won on the Contender Series, debuted with a 30-second submission win and just one of the most violent performances I've ever seen. Followed it up with another round 1 submission in April, I believe on the Vallejos card. 7 out of 9 of his wins come by round 1 stoppage as well. So this guy works pretty fast. His style, really athletic kickboxing skill, but he can be a bit reckless and hittable. I think he ate like a decent shot in his last fight and like kind of got stung for a second, but then ended up just taking him down and finding a submission anyways. The submission game is absolutely nasty. Once he has his opponents in compromising positions, he hunts and finishes that submission in every single chance that he gets. His opponent, Julius Walker, he came into the UFC 6-0, becoming champ in multiple promotions, loses to Alonzo Menifield via split decision in his UFC debut. Now he's 1-1, coming off of a round 1 loss to Justin Jacoby, where he got knocked out pretty bad. His style, he's a wrestler with nasty ground and pound ability, but just not very high grappling IQ. Plotty, stand-up, has power to his punches, I guess, but the cardio is also not great. He gassed out really, really bad in his second UFC fight. I can't quite remember who it was against. In his only win, he gassed out really bad. My prediction for the fight, I do think Abdulrahman Yakhyayev will find another round 1 submission. Him in round 1 at minus 135 is really the only thing semi-valuable. Yakhyayev is a huge favorite in this one, as he should be. Julius Walker is not great. He's also the brother of the... Wait, no, he's not. I was going to say he's the brother of Johnny and the other Walker, but he's not. And Walter, but he's not. That's a lie. I really don't see how Julius Walker can get this one done. He is outmatched in quite literally every single aspect of this one. I'd be surprised if he makes it out of round 1. So give me Yakhyayev to find another round 1 submission. The people's main event, Eric Nolan versus Farman Hassanov. Farman Hassanov, he only has 5 pro fights, but he's 5-0, and all but one of those wins come by finish. His last 3 fights were all in the LFA. Trains out of American Top Team as well. His style, he's he's actually a master of sport in freestyle wrestling. Still growing, but is underdeveloped as a striker for sure. Only 5 professional fights. Definitely uses that big wrestling background that we see. He is, like I said, a master of sport. So that part of his game definitely shines through, but the overall use of wrestling as a mixed martial artist is still growing. His opponent, Eric Nolan, he was 8-3 fighter in CFFC. He became champ over there, signs with the UFC, was going to fight somebody else, and then ends up getting a call and debuting on short notice against Baisangor Sursurkayev at UFC 319 last summer. Up a weight class as well. Former U.S. Marine is Eric Nolan. His style, he's a really underrated guy. He has real one-punch KO power and decent anti-grappling. He stuffed multiple takedowns from Baisangor Sursurkayev, who people really rate, despite maybe me not thinking that much of him. But striking can be a bit wild and sloppy at times, but when he does connect, it's usually pretty devastating. His grappling IQ is a major weakness. When he did get taken down the one time by Baisangor, he gave his back immediately and was left to get submitted in that fight. My prediction for the fight, Give me Eric Nolan to get this one done via round 1 KO. Kind of going against my own rule here of young, undefeated, decent fighters at good gyms. That kind of fits Farman Hassanov, being young, good, undefeated, and at a good gym. But I can see why he's the favorite. It's just his takedowns were getting stuffed way too easily in the LFA, especially just not like 2 fights ago. His takedowns were getting stuffed easily. I just don't think Eric Nolan is going to let him take him down and do whatever he wants. I think he's going to be able to keep the fight standing enough and land one of those big shots. Farman Hassanov's striking defense is not great. His overall game outside of wrestling, when the fight is not on the mat, he's clearly uncomfortable. I think Eric Nolan will make him uncomfortable. And give me the dog to keep this fight standing and find the round 1 finish. Under 1.5 rounds at plus 110, I think is pretty good value, because if Eric Nolan does get taken down, I think it'll go very poorly, very fast. And Nolan at plus money is, to me, some of the best value in the card. So yeah, give me the underdog Eric Nolan here. Abus Magomedov versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Abus, he had a lot of fights on the regional scene and even fought in the PFL for a little bit. He's been a really solid fighter outside of the rankings. Like, if the rankings went to 20, he would consistently be in those at middleweight. He's only ever lost to high-level guys like Strickland, Caio Bahaio, and Joe Pyfer in the UFC. The wins aren't great, but his losses do speak for themselves. His style, he's an above-average fighter everywhere the fight goes. Wouldn't really favor him or say he has a specialty anywhere. Has crafty submission grappling, though, for sure. Heart and cardio looked really questionable in his most recent loss. Kind of just quit in the Joe Pyfer fight, for sure. His opponent, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, he was a really good regional scene fighter, became champ before joining the UFC in 2017. He kind of used to be this honestly, that would just lose constantly, but then would pull off a random round 1 KO win and kind of keep him in the UFC. He was kind of like Cody Brundage before Cody Brundage. He's recently joined the Fighting Nerds, though, and he's having a huge career revival. Currently, he's on a 3-fight win streak and could be looking to actually become a ranked fighter, which if you would have said that like 3 years ago, you would have gotten laughed at. But truly, he is on this kind of second wind of his career. His style, he's improved, but just really still a slightly above average striker with good KO power. Usually just comes to scrap, muddy up a fight, and kind of dog it out. That's really what Mikhail has always come to do. Doesn't really excel in clean exchanges. Like I said, wants to muddy up the fight. My prediction for the fight, we've got Abus Magomedov getting this one done via decision. Neither of these, Mikhail, yes, he's a big time finisher, but it takes a lot to finish Abus. He's a cleaner-ish guy, I guess, and so I like this fight to go over 2.5 rounds. Mikhail KO, though, at plus 190 is pretty good value. I don't think the value in Abus is really there. It's a close fight for sure, but Abus has just kind of proven that he's more of a clean guy. Even wrestling-wise, like Mikhail gets taken down, I'm immediately favoring Abus. He doesn't typically force grappling, but if he chooses to, I'd favor him there. Standing, he's still at a reach disadvantage, though, too, Mikhail is. So it's kind of tough for me to... I want Mikhail to win. I'm a Fighting Nerds guy through and through. I want Mikhail to win. I just don't see it happening. But if you guys are a believer in his KO power and you think he can get it done there, I guess you can take it. But I'd stay away from moneyline bets here. Just kind of stick to the over and Mikhail KO, but give me Magomedov in this one. Next up, we got Ikram Aliskerov versus Bruno Ferreira. Ikram Aliskerov, he's a 17-2 fighter. His only 2 losses are actually Khamzat Chimaev on the regional scene and then Robert Whittaker in the UFC a few fights ago. He struggled staying healthy for the majority of his career, has tons of canceled bouts. He has a 75% finishing rate in his wins. However, both of his losses do come from him getting finished in round 1. His style, technically sound striker with strong grappling as well. He's a really decently well-rounded guy. Until his most recent fight, he had not seen round 2 since 2021, and it showed. He gassed out within like a round and a half. Has been caught and finished with an uppercut twice. So like I mentioned before, both of those round 1 finishes that he lost to, both came via uppercut. So he can kind of be susceptible there. I don't want to say he's chinny, but again, both losses come from him getting knocked out in round 1. His opponent, Bruno Ferreira, he's an undefeated fighter on the regional scene, had a 100% finishing rate there, gets a KO win on the Contender Series. Since joining the UFC, he's been 6-3. He's been finished in all 3 of his losses as well. got slimed out real bad by RoboCop at UFC 326 in his last fight. His style, he's just a brute, pretty explosive guy, one-punch KO ability for sure. Wants to keep the fight standing, but his is comfortable on the ground as well. Can pull out submissions, has plenty of submission wins in his career. Looked in great physical shape his last fight. Typically, he can come into fights a little bit pudgy. He's an undersized guy. He looked kind of ripped in his last fight. The best I've physically ever seen him look. My prediction for the fight, give me Bruno Ferreira to knock him out in round 1. I think, who has Ikram beat? His strength of schedule is awful. Yes, he's lost to pretty much every decently talented guy he's faced. Bruno Ferreira, I think, is one of the more underrated guys in this division as well. A Ferreira KO at plus 450, and even his money line just in general, I think is plus 200 money. Fight not to go the distance is, to me, a pretty big given. Neither of these guys like to take a whole lot of time to do what they want to do. I don't know. I just, to me, the value in Ikram isn't there, even if you do think he's going to win. I like Bruno. He's underrated. He'll have to be careful entering distance with Ikram for sure. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage. He is the smaller guy. But, I mean, unless Ikram just immediately starts grappling, like if they get into a fiery exchange, I like Bruno here. And, I think that's a definite possibility. Give me Bruno. I like his KO power. I think Ikram is a tad overrated, and the money here is pretty good. So decent value for Bruno. Give me him to knock him out in round 1. Next up, we got an interesting one at flyweight. Asu Mabayev versus Charles Johnson. Asu Mabayev lost a couple times early in his career and then really caught fire. Went on this huge run on the regional scene, then signed to the UFC in 2023. He was riding a 17-fight win streak, then loses to Manuel Torres, which no shame in that. We're seeing this guy become a title challenger, potential champ. Bounces back with 2 pretty good wins over Jose Ochoa, really underrated flyweight, and then gets a nasty guillotine win against Alex Perez in his last fight. Was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno on the UFC Mexico card. Had to pull out late notice. That's why Lone Kavanaugh stepped in. The style of Asu Mabayev, he's a pretty control-heavy grappler, but has really good submission ability for sure. Really impressive ability to take the back. That's where I think his grappling kind of separates. His ability to maneuver, take the back, get in his hooks. Very basic stand-up for sure. He's not somebody that's going to just stand there and box it out with you, but grappling-wise is where he really shines. His opponent, Charles Johnson, former LFA champ, signed to the UFC in 2022. Known for sliming out your favorite prospect and then immediately catapulting them to UFC title picture. Slimed out Joshua Van. Literally within the next year, he was champ. Slimed out Lone Kavanaugh. Now he is fighting Brandon Royval and will probably insert himself into the title picture here soon. He's 8-6 in the UFC. He's just struggling very heavily with consistency. He will beat somebody like Joshua Van and knock them out, and then get knocked out by Alex Perez at the beginning of the year. So consistency has definitely been a big issue for him. His style, really slick striker with good length for flyweight. Also pretty good KO power as well for a flyweight. Can sprawl decently, but overall has struggled against high-level grapplers in the past. My prediction for the fight, give me Asu Mabayev to get this one done via decision. Mabayev at minus 245. Like I said, Charles Johnson, when it comes to elite grapplers, has never really boded well. I think Asu Mabayev is an elite grappler. If the fight stays standing, yeah, for sure, Charles Johnson can get it done. He's got the length advantage. He has the power advantage. He's much more slick. I just don't think that he's going to be able to keep this one standing. One that I'm not particularly as excited for, Nazim Sadikov versus Mateus Camilo. Nazim Sadikov, he went 6-1 on the regional scene, gets a win and a contract on the Contender Series. He's 4-1-1 in the UFC so far, been pretty up and down. Beat Terrence McKinney, and then he draws with Borishev Slavaklas, who is not even in the UFC anymore. Coming off of a loss to Fiziev, where he got finished in round 2 as well. His style, he's an above-average striker, uses his speed and athleticism pretty well, constantly switching stances to pose issues to his opponents. Was holding his own and scrambling pretty well against Fiziev until he got caught with an elbow while he was trying to turn and get up, and then he got finished. His opponent, Mateus Camilo, went 3-1 in Fury FC before joining the UFC on a 6-fight win streak. He's 1-1 in the UFC so far, beat Slavaklas back at UFC 322. And fun fact, he was the first fighter I ever saw win in person. I went to UFC 322, was there for the first fight. he was the one who ended up winning that fight. His style, not really sure where his true strengths lie as a UFC fighter. This is maybe not the best analysis, but seems to have crafty back taking ability, uses his entries well, just too low output and inaccurate and just pretty stale overall on the feet. Even as a BJJ grappler, he's not like anything that crazy. My prediction for the fight, give me Nazim Sadikov to get this one done via round 2 TKO. Sadikov at plus, minus 205 makes great sense. Camilo under on takedowns. I don't think he'll be able to force takedowns on the feet. Nazim Sadikov is way better. Like him big time. I think he'll be able to keep this one standing and just completely outclass Camilo on the feet. Shouldn't be too much of a scare here. Give me Sadikov at minus 205. To me, this is a given. In the co-main event, we got Shara Bullet versus Michelle Pereira. Shara Bullet came into the UFC 11-0 in 2023, debuts with a win, then rattles off 3 more, including 2 KO finishes, gets outclassed by MVP, as many people do, loses a lot of hype, but bounced back with a win in his most recent fight over Marc-Andre Barriault. His style, he's low output, but unorthodox Muay Thai striker, despite being from the region that he's from and the country that he's from and his overall look. He is actually a pretty exciting Muay Thai striker. Exciting-ish. He'll have exciting moments. Lethal kick packages. Just has so many weapons at his disposal. He's really accurate and precise as well. Just doesn't necessarily give a ton of output, which is where I think people may have problems with him. His opponent, Michelle Pereira, joined the UFC in 2019, lost his first 2 fights, but then went on this huge 8-fight win streak. He has looked severely washed, however. Loses his last 3 of 4. His last win was a really questionable split decision over Zachary Reese. He's a fan favorite, though, known for crazy moments. If you've seen like the backflip into an elbow KO, like that's all Michelle Pereira. He just brought his own unique style into the UFC and just kind of does things his way. His style, he's typically this wild and dangerous striker, but has recently looked pretty hesitant and, like I said, washed pretty sadly. Has some pretty good BJJ submission ability, has 8 submission wins in his career, but he's at his best when he is just throwing caution to the wind and creating chaos. Yes, he'll put himself in vulnerable situations, but at the same time, that's just kind of the price he has to pay in order to play his style of game. He just needs to attack, and he hasn't really done that recently. For that reason, my prediction for the fight, I think Shara Bullet will get this one done via round 2 TKO. Should be entertaining and fun. I think it depends on which version of Michelle Pereira shows up. I wish this fight would be more meaningful. Like, I wish they gave Shara Bullet a bigger opponent. I guess it's, just kind of meant to be fun, and it's on the co-main event of a fight night. But I think Shara will just kind of break him down on the feet relentlessly into round 2 and then find a late finish in round 2. Magomedov moneyline at minus 395. Yeah, that's about right. Magomedov KO at plus money isn't bad. Michelle Pereira is a pretty decently durable guy, but he hasn't really fought somebody as dynamic, I think, as Shara Bullet. Michelle finish at plus 600, you cannot count out. I don't think if this fight goes to a decision, it's going to be Michelle Pereira outclassing Shara Magomedov. So if Michelle does win this one, I think it'll be a finish. And so that at plus 600 could be a decent high value straight. But I think this one's pretty straightforward. Give me Shara Bullet to get this one done in round 2. Our main event in Baku, Rafael Fiziev versus Manuel Torres. Rafael Fiziev from Azerbaijan, going to be performing in his home country. He comes from a Muay Thai background before transitioning to MMA, loses his UFC debut, rattled off 6 straight. Since then, though, he's only won 1 of his last 5, gets Justin Gaethje, loses badly, injures his leg, I think, in his next fight, then comes back a couple years later, loses again. His most recent fight was at UFC 325, where he got knocked out badly by Mauricio Rufy. His style, he's a compact, high-level Muay Thai striker, lacks length and size for the division for sure. Does not carry the KO power that he would appear, though. For being a stockier built and more muscular type guy, he's just more of a volume guy. He always comes to throw down, though, almost always in bangers, but he has a very high-level technical approach. The Muay Thai is, again, very technical, if that makes sense. Counter-striking, entries. He's not this wild kind of guy. He's definitely on the more conservative and technical side, but the Muay Thai is high level. His opponent, Manuel Torres, went 5-2 on the Mexican regional scene. Round 1 win on the Contender Series, 3 straight round 1 finishes to start his UFC career, gets KO'd by Ignacio Bahamondes, has been one of the best. Nope, that's not. Never mind. His style, so incredibly dangerous everywhere the fight goes. His last 8 wins come by round 1 finish. Leaves himself vulnerable, and will have his hands down and have his head in bad spots. Kind of likes to throw his hands out and kind of feel out his opponents, but in the process kind of leave himself susceptible. Struggles with length and poise. To me, where he'll get himself in trouble is when he's just trying to put too much gas on the pedal and then he gets countered, then something bad happens. To me, that's where Manuel Torres struggles. However, he is an extremely dangerous guy that likes to work pretty quick. He's only seen a second round once in his entire career, and that was like back in 2017. So he's dangerous for sure. My prediction for the fight, it's super 50-50. I think the odds are literally a pick 'em at -115, and that's rightfully so. This could be a mistake, but I'm going to take Rafael Fiziev to get this one done via round 3 TKO. Fiziev money line, it's 50-50. I would just generally stay away from this one and just kind of enjoy it if you can. However, if you think Torres is going to win, the plus 160 at Torres in round 1 or 2 is pretty good value as well, because that's, if Torres is to win, that's how it's going to go. The Fiziev over on strikes, for me, think that Torres is too reckless and wild for Rafael Fiziev. Yes, Fiziev doesn't have the length. He will have to enter range, which can go poorly for him. But if Fiziev can just stay clean, land some shots, I think he can kind of outclass Manuel Torres. The grappling here is pretty 50-50. Like it's split in my opinion. There's no clear grappling advantage, but I don't think either fighter is going to necessarily choose to grapple. I think both of these guys prefer standing. It'll be fun for sure. This fight's definitely not going to go the distance, but I like Rafael Fiziev just a little bit more. And yes, it is a scary pick, because if you give somebody in Manuel Torres who has so much finishing ability 25 minutes to find a finish, it can go poorly. It's just, I think Fiziev is a lot cleaner, a lot more technical. So give me him in this one. But then again, I guess we never know. To recap everything betting-wise, I like a lot more high-value straights this week as well, despite not a lot of hitting last week. I think we actually hit on a few, so not bad. The X-Out Almacon moneyline at plus 130 is something that I feel super, super confident in. Almost put it in parlay legs, but that is one of the high-value plus money bets that you can get, even within that fight. Almacon moneyline and then Matsumoto decision, both of those are at plus 130 or 135. That's a great way to kind of hedge that fight in of itself and maybe make some money there. Donchenko in round 1 at plus 220. Michelle sub KO finish, if he gets kind of a fluky finish win, at plus 600. Bruno Ferreira KO. I like Bruno in that matchup. Ikram is a little overrated and chinny in my opinion. So, plus 450, not bad. Khan Ofli KO. Like I said, Javier Reyes keeps his hands down, will get caught. Khan Ofli likes to throw these big, wild, looping overhands. I guess he could land one maybe, so plus 1,000 to put $1 on. Why not? And then Eric Nolan moneyline is another underdog that I'm really confident in, so give me his moneyline at plus money as well. Parlay-wise, I think Bruno Ferreira and Ikram Aliskerov to not go the distance at minus 450. Great value. Donchenko moneyline, Asom Abayev moneyline, Nazim Sadikov moneyline, and Ruzi Boyev moneyline. All of those fighters are guys that I'm super confident in. I like all 4 of them. I think these together will get you a pretty decent, like plus 300-ish parlay if you want to combine all 5 legs, but trying to bounce back. Last week was not great. If you guys aren't aware, this fight is also at 9 in the morning. The prelims start at 9. Main card's at noon, so make sure you get your bets in on tonight, on Friday night, if you wanted to get any bets in. Should be a pretty decent card overall. I'm kind of split on some. Like, I can definitely see some of these fights being like dragging for sure. A lot of caucus fighters, but surprisingly not a lot of boring caucus fighters on this one. But hopefully we bounce back. Thank you guys so much for watching. No fights next week, but then we got Conor McGregor coming back, and I could not be more juiced up for that. I'm like already like starting to geek a little bit. So gonna make a full breakdown on that card, obviously. Gonna recap this one. And then next week, I should have some time to get out videos that aren't breakdowns and recaps if you guys like those. So, again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys probably Saturday because the fight's going to be early in the morning. So, I'll get that recap out relatively quick. I will, see you guys on Saturday. See ya.